Hi, I'm James Sutton. This is Road to Recovery. And today my special guest is Donna Rojas of the American Job Center. So welcome, Donna.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I work at the American Job Center at the Montgomery County Correctional Facility. The American Job Center is a center that helps the inmate population to become job ready, life ready. There are two coaches, myself and Coach Smedley, and we work with both the male and female population. I work solely with the females on helping them from a job readiness and personal development perspective. The center has been open since 2006, and it's been noted nationally as a national model since it is one of the first centers to be embedded within a correctional facility.
Right. Yeah, you have been recognized. You want to expand on that? Was that during the Obama administration?
Yes.
Can you tell us? Yeah.
President Obama mentioned our center in a program that he had at the NAACP where he talked about reentry for returning citizens.
Right.
And one of the things that he spoke highly about was that the center was getting it right. And what we were getting right was helping individuals to start to prepare even before they left the facility. So they would come to the center and have their resumes done, mock interviews, work on their personal development, how to explain their charges. So those things are just some of the things that we do, which was noted by President Obama. Due to him mentioning that, Attorney General Eric Holder and at the time the Department of Labor Secretary Tom Perez came to visit us to see what the center was all about,
right,
to understand more about what we did. What ended up happening is they created a $50 million grant to have other states emulate what we do in Montgomery County.
So you must be doing it right.
Yeah, we're doing our best to do it right.
Hopefully they're following your lead and doing it
Yes.
right in other places
Yes,
too. I'm
yes,
glad that we have you in
yes.
Montgomery County.
Thank you.
Now, you don't just do job readiness in terms of, when I think of job readiness, because I'm a novice, I think of like learning how to write a resume, but you work on character building too.
We work with them on how to build their character, how to build their self-esteem. When they come into the facility or when anybody that's been incarcerated, it seems to strip things away from you. So what we try to do is when you're getting ready to go back home, we're working on helping you to build your character. Look at your image not as your charge or as your number, but instead you're going back home as Mr. or Mrs. XYZ. So we try our best to help them to start to look at things that will empower them to be better than they were when they came in.
Great, that's great. Now, for the audience that don't know, the two programs that you work with, that I'm aligned with is Jail Addiction Services and then CFC, which
Yes.
is a behavioral modification
Yes.
for people with criminal behavior.
Yes.
So is that a difficult population? Do they really just welcome you with open arms or what? How does that work?
Some may, and some, when you're dealing with the female population, I think it's important to understand the gender response. My coworker does very well with the male population. They're a little bit easier. When we start to think about working with females, their emotions are into everything. They deal with things emotionally. Women come from a different place when we look at incarceration. So when I go up on Thursdays now, it's the Jail Addiction Services women,
Right.
as well as the Choices for Change women. And we all come together. Sometimes they're not as eager, not as ready. They're looking like, what are you going to tell me that I don't already know?
Okay.
But because I am one to engage them interactively, by the time I'm done, I've captured their attention.
Okay.
I've gotten them to at least at least listen to one thing that I'm saying that they can walk away with, whether it's how to deal with their significant other, how to work with their children and reunify with their children, how to be a better employee, how to respect not just everyone else, but most importantly themselves.
Right. Very good. Very good. Now, have they had jobs before? What are you finding now? Have they worked before? Did they have work experience before that you meet them, or?
I find some they have worked before, but the jobs may not have been jobs that they wanted.
Okay.
So we start to talk about, what is your passion?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
What is it that you might like to do that can turn into a career? Sometimes, we have individuals that fall into employment. They come in just because they need a job. But one thing that I say is sometimes you may need that job and it's important for you to take that position. However, start looking at a career, something that when you wake up in the morning is something that you enjoy doing.
Right.
It's not just, oh my gosh, I have to go there again. No, you want to hone into what your passion is. So what we do is we put them through a few assessments. And one of the assessments is an interest profiler. Sometimes you find your passion based on what you're interested in.
Okay.
So then after they've completed the interest profiler, the results can show them different jobs that they may be interested in or that are available to them based on their interests.
Oh, that's great. Because I remember when I had Robert Green on here, the director, we were talking about that the data shows that the two things that most inmates that come back to jail within 30 days and also inmates that relapse after having a period of sobriety from being incarcerated, the two things they named was employment and housing.
And housing.
Those were the two things nationally that there was the least support.
Yep.
So it's great that you're working in that area to provide some guidance in that area. So I don't know how it works, but I'm learning a lot from you.
Some of the things that's important, Montgomery County has also done Ban the Box. So Ban the Box is where an application does not have the box that states if you've been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor. That box is not on the application.
What?
And what that does is it allows the employer to see the person based on their qualifications and not based on what they've done. Now, they're going to run a background eventually, but to get your foot in the door, to get you in the door, your resume and that application is going to help you. And not having that box creates a greater avenue or a greater way for them to get in and actually meet with an employer face to face.
Okay, now that's a great step. Now that's how legislation can change, stigma and provide opportunities for people that and give them a second chance.
Yes.
Now, how do you prepare a person? If I have a felony conviction and I'm getting ready to go, I'm very frustrated. I don't think I have a chance to find a living wage, right?
Okay.
So how do you prepare me to go to this interview that I don't think I'm going to be successful at because of my record?
Right.
And they're going to check my background like you just said.
Yes.
So how do I sell myself to the company?
First of all, take out can't.
Can't.
You can't go in feeling that way. You should not go in feeling that way. You can knock on 99 doors. You only need one to open.
Okay.
How you present yourself, because when the interview starts, you're going to talk about what you know how to do and what you do well based on your transferable skills, based on your past experience. Now, yes, they are going to run a background. Yes, you're going to have to speak about that background. That's where we work with you on how to articulate and how to speak to what happened in your life. Everyone has some flawed past, but not everyone may have been incarcerated. So what we do is to help you to explain that and talk about the charge. It may have been at a time where I was using drugs and alcohol. It may have been at a time when I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. But while I was incarcerated, I was able to change the way that I processed through things. I was able to become sober. I was able to see that I have skills that I can bring to your company.
Okay.
So when you start talking, you talk about the charge, but you don't belabor it.
I see.
You start to talk about things that will make you an asset to that company. So they start to say, you know what? Maybe I might just give you a chance. I mean, I had an individual with a second-degree murder charge years ago who came to the center. And because he was truthful with the company, they hired him because he told the truth about his conviction.
Oh yeah, honesty is important.
Right, and once he was able to speak about his conviction, once he was able to tell them what he brings to the table, he ended up being hired, and within 2 months he was promoted to another position. He started off as a dishwasher, and then he became the inventory clerk. And he just moved and moved up within the company just because he knew what to say. And he was able to say it without feeling bad about it. Yes, it was a time in his life, but it didn't define him.
That's great, and that's important. And I try to tell the same thing to members of Jazz, that your addiction doesn't define you. You're a person with an addiction.
Yep.
You're not an addiction, that's not
Right.
who you are. That's
Right.
just a part of you, right?
Right.
Same thing with a person with a disability. That's a person
Right.
with a disability,
Right.
right? So it's a good way to look at it. So I'm learning from you about that, how you deal with that diaphragm, right?
Yes.
So now, and I had experience like that. As a matter of fact, my first job in a therapeutic community, I had told the truth on my application that I had a history of arrest. And they hired me because exactly what you said, because I was honest. I didn't know at the time that they hired people in recovery.
Wow.
So I just said, well, I don't have a job now, so if they don't hire me, I won't be any worse off. So I should, and my sponsor told me to tell the truth, right?
Yep.
And it worked. So it worked for me years ago, but I didn't know.
Yep.
You
have to, because nowadays, especially especially in Montgomery County, in the state of Maryland, you can just log into the Maryland Judiciary Case Search and find out everything about a person.
Public information.
And one thing that happens is the employers don't know how to read some of the information that's on there. So if you have if your case was non pros, they don't understand that it wasn't prosecuted. It was thrown out, but they can still hold it against you.
Okay.
That's why you have to be able to speak up.
Right. Okay, so we're about to take a break. So it's so interesting I'm so glad I had you on here today. I've been trying to get you on for so long,
Yes.
I know. So I'm so fortunate that today, the stars lined up and we were able to get you here. So we're going to take a break for a minute and we'll come right back.
Sure.
So this is the Road to Recovery. I'm James Sutton. My guest today, Donna Rojas from the American Job Center.
I got some Oxy after I hurt my neck. First, I took them to feel better. Then, I just kept taking them. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Hi, I'm James Sutton. We're back with Road to Recovery. My guest today, Ms. Donna Rojas from the American Job Center. So welcome back, Donna.
Thank you.
So I was really impressed with how much the girls really look at you as a mentor, and it has to be because of your character, and I think that it's like physician, heal yourself first, right? Mm-hmm. So if you display, positive behavior, then people that you're trying to impress or impact, can learn from your behavior, and I think you definitely do that, because many women call me who have been released from MCCF, and they always talk about you, and men too, that you're a supporter, helping them as they go through different trials in the community, loss of housing, loss of jobs, relapse, and they always talk about you've supported them and directed them to services. So I know that you're smart enough to know that you don't have all the answers and you'll go and get help. And they need to learn that they need to go to get help when they need it, that they don't have all the answers. So what are some of your life experiences that have impacted you that hone the way you do your job?
I think one, I come from the criminal justice background from a victim's perspective.
Okay.
And that was because when I was a teenager, my grandfather was shot and killed by 2 armed robbers who came to our home to rob him. And I was the only person to hear it. I was the only person that was involved where I had to go to court, give my statement about what transpired. And at the time, those individuals were 18 and 19 years old. So my grandfather was like the breadwinner of our household. So for me, they took that away.
Right.
And I never thought that I would work with this population. I used to work for Health and Human Services in their cancer and tobacco programs. And then I went to another position, and that position moved out of the area. And someone told me about this position at the correctional facility.
Right.
And the first thing they said are you going to be afraid? And I was like, no, because I had done tobacco cessation in there for them before.
Okay.
So when I came to the position, I became engaged, started working, enjoyed what I was doing, but then I wanted to understand, why was this so meaningful to me? And someone mentioned, why do you do the work that you do? And the answer to that was, if I can help one person not to go through what the individuals that killed my grandfather went through, which was 25 years to life, then I'm doing what I was placed here to do.
Wow. That is motivation. Wow, that's powerful. And you really, and you said earlier that you shouldn't pick a job, you should pick a career, something that you would do, you wake up and you enjoy doing, you enjoy going to work, and obviously you love your work and you do a great job at it. And I see now, because your life experiences, how old were you when that happened?
I was 13.
13?
I was 13 years
Wow.
old, 40 years ago.
40 years ago, wow.
And now everybody knows my age.
You still look 17, okay, so we're going to say that. Now, what about the people that committed the crime?
Well,
Are they out?
I think one passed away, and recently a newspaper article came out, and one of the gentleman's name was in the newspaper article for his sentence being commuted. And at first I looked at the paper like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? He's really getting out, and it just brought all these feelings and all these emotions back. And then this job kicked in. And the second thing I said was, well, I wonder what kind of reentry plan that he had, because he went in at 19 and now he's 59 years old. What is he going to do as a returning citizen, where technology, jobs, everything was different back then? So what's going to happen to him now? And I was kind of shocked at where I was thinking, but forgiveness plays a big part in that. I had to forgive him in order for me to do the best job I can with the people that I serve now.
Right.
Because there might be an armed robber in my group.
Oh, yeah.
There may be a murderer in my group.
Okay.
I'm not there to judge them. I'm there to help them to become a better them.
Right. You're right. And that's important. So many of the men and women I meet that have been incarcerated, some of them have been incarcerated for a long time, came home for like a couple of months and got reincarcerated because of the trauma of being incarcerated. And then they never got any support on reentry.
Right.
So that they didn't have a Coach Rojas. So they got rearrested, and they're right back in there after doing 20 years. They're right back in the system again, with no skills, no work history.
Right.
So, and they're getting, like you said, 59 years old, been locked up for 40 years. That's a trauma right there.
Yep.
You've always been in a box, with violence, and like you said, the technology has changed, the geography has changed, so it can be a real challenge for a person with no supports. But with a person like you that knows all the services around, all the people around, all the connections, then they have a chance. So we're so fortunate to have you at MCCF in Montgomery County.
Well, you know, I call you all the time.
Yes, you do.
As soon as something happens, I'm like, Mr. Sutton, we need help.
Yeah,
And I guide them right to you.
Yeah, we're definitely partners.
Yes.
You know, with that.
Yes, and I think that's important. These programs need to partner together.
Right.
And we just don't work with each other. We work with everyone in the correctional facility. We work with the Model Learning Center.
Okay.
We work with your group, with the Jail Addiction Services. We're close with the case managers. We're close with the Reentry program. We touch every portion of the facility in order to help a person to get home and stay home.
Right. That's great. And you do a great job, too. Everybody is not good at partnering.
Thank you.
Know, that's very important. The different agencies that have services have to learn how to work together
Right.
so that the person can
Right.
get, support in each area of their life so they can be balanced, whether it's mental health, somatic, issues or insurance, because sometimes they leave the jail and they don't have insurance because they never asked.
Right.
No ID, but if they come in contact with you, then you will tell them that they need ID to get a job.
Right.
So some things that every person should have that a lot of our population are not even concerned with because
Right.
they've been on substances.
Right.
And they've been homeless, so they've lost their ID, they've lost themselves. So just to have a person like you introduce themselves to them can start putting them back on track with some of the basics that you need to be successful and function in society.
That's why it's so important for us to work with our reentry department, because they do the IDs. They help them with their driver's license. They help them to obtain their social security card as long as the individual speaks up. So when they come to us, we're asking those questions.
Right.
So
There you
that if they don't have it, we can tell them who to get it from.
Right.
So that's why it's important for us to all stay connected at the facility.
Right. And you keep adding on, because I know Kendra, she does a great job. I think before Kendra was hired, there were only like a few programs, but now it's an MVA program, it's
Parole and probation.
Parole and probation, a lot of different services that a person will need to know about and not be ignorant and
Right.
and not know how
Right.
to navigate
Right.
the system.
Right. They don't have an excuse.
Yeah, there's no
They don't have an excuse. I mean, I understand some facilities where they may not have as much as we have, but we at the Montgomery County Correctional Facility, we have a lot of programs. You can't walk out of there and say, I don't know.
Right.
Because it's plastered everywhere from the time you walk in to the time that you leave. So it's important for us to make sure that even though they know it, we're making sure that they are aware and that they stay connected so that when they go home, they can't say, well, you know what, Coach, I didn't know that that was available. Yes, you did.
Right.
And here's how to reconnect to that. Here's
Right.
how we're going to put you back in touch with that. And with social media and the internet, all you have to do is Google. You
Yeah,
can Google
no.
everything.
I try to get my children to read because everything they want to know, they go to Google,
Google.
right? So it makes them lazy, right?
Right.
So let me ask you this, because I'm the outreach director of Tree of Hope, and with Tree of Hope, LaTanya, my partner with Tree of Hope, she's actually does workforce development, and we provided those services as recovery coaches and done workforce development in Avery House and different places to helping the women learn, be computer access and different things LaTanya helps them with, right? Now, eventually we're going to have a brick and mortar, and I had an idea that we should have a job bank, so that when a person's released from treatment or from incarceration, they could come to a safe place and get on a computer and look for jobs or even have day jobs on the wall or something.
Right.
Is that-
So the American Job Center that's embedded within the correctional facility is a part of WorkSource Montgomery.
Okay.
WorkSource Montgomery is the workforce development entity for the county.
Okay.
They oversee the American Job Centers in the community. So you can leave our American Job Center and go to the location in Wheaton and Germantown to continue your job search, to
good.
continue your training. So it's a connection. It's a holistic service where you could go from inside the facility to an American Job Center in the community.
Like a warm handoff?
Exactly.
Oh,
That's
okay.
exactly what they call it, the warm handoff.
Warm handoff.
Yep.
That's good. Because we do warm handoffs with clinical work.
Right.
So I'm glad that you're doing it with the
Yes.
workforce development
Yes.
too. That's
Yes,
great.
that's huge.
So we got like a few minutes left before we have to let you go.
Okay.
So is there anything that we didn't cover or that you want to, like a closing bullet point that you want to pass on to the viewers that's important to you that they understand or hear about?
I think what's important is we continue to support reentry as a whole, but we have to make sure that we are looking out for our women. We have to make sure that we are making sure that when they get back to the community, that they have everything that they need. More and more women are becoming incarcerated, and we need to make sure to capture them because it impacts the entire family.
Okay. And that is important, right? It does impact the entire family. So thank you again for coming. I'm going to have you back again.
Thank
and
you
we're
for
going
having
to
me.
go deeper, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to keep calling you.
That's
As
no
people keep
problem.
calling me for
Okay.
help, I'm going to pass it on
No,
to you.
to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this has been Road to Recovery. I'm James Sutton. My guest today was Donna Rojas from the American Job Center, who does a fantastic job of helping people in recovery with workforce development and building their self-esteem. And we'll see you the next time on the Road to Recovery.